place to be is living free in Tennessee.
Well, hopefully there was no expectation that I was not going to be notoriously late because I was making coffee as the intro was playing. But yes, I am here by myself today because Dorothy might not be in Kansas, but Nicole is. So, cheers. So, anyway, I've got everything to myself for a couple of days. So we're still kind of in recovery from the workshop, still moving some stuff around, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, she's got to bounce right out to Kansas. What's up, AJ? So anyway, might be a little bit shorter today. There's not a whole lot going on right now just because I'm in, I guess, maintenance mode. Making a little bit of progress here and there on a couple of things, but anyway, so last so almost a week ago, we've got the girls up towards the top of the hill, and Nicole had her concert, so I went to go eat dinner afterwards with them, and of course, right about the time, fortunately, about the time I finished eating, I get the message from Nighthawk that one of the girls is out and he can't get her back in. It's like, well, I look at the clock and it's like, okay, I've got an hour to sunset. It's a half-hour drive to get back. So just bailed right then. And of course, first thought was like, baby got out and then mom got out. Or maybe baby got out and mom didn't get out, or mom got out and baby didn't get out. So that's going through my head. And then it finally hits me up and is like, yeah, it's tag number 009. I was like, okay, that's Amy. Amy does not have a baby right now. So cool. Not as much of a hurry to get back now, but still it's a lot easier to deal with, if you get up there before it's dark. That just makes everything more complicated. So get back, we both jump on four-wheelers, go over there, and fortunately it was somewhat easy. I pulled a pole out of the ground, laid that over so it held the fence down, and then I went into the paddock and got the dogs so that the dogs didn't try to jump the fence. And then he was able to run her back over there. She saw a low spot that she thought she could jump, and so she did. And then I just, flipped back around and stuck that post back, and that worked out fairly well. And then it was like, okay, I need to get them moved. I'm not really sure why she skipped the fence, but, it's about time for them to move. And through everything, I had disconnected the battery before I went up there, so that just none of the fence was hot. It just made it easier. And I forgot to turn the fence back on when I left. So Nicole went back over and then hit me up and was like, "Hey, isn't this fence charger supposed to be ticking?" Yeah, a little light. It should flash. And yeah, nothing. It's like, all right. So apparently the battery was dead. So that probably did not help the situation. So I went over, swapped the battery out, and then I think it was the next day maybe I got them moved. And then it was 2, 3 days ago, me and Nicole went up there. And I mean, we pull up, fences here, and we just pull up right next to the fence and basically parallel park along the fence. Of course, since Nicole was there, Max got really, really excited. A little bit too excited and a little bit too much tail wagging right next to the fence, and he got it right in the ass. And I'm fairly certain I heard the electrical pop from that one, and he yelped and went straight up into the woods line, and it took a good 10 minutes to coax him out, because it's also the time that they're supposed to eat. So it's like, hey buddy, if you don't come back down, you ain't gonna eat tonight. So it took me a few minutes to coax him back down, but it was like, well, at least I know the fence is working. So there was that. But then we also got the boys split off. So they're next door right now, and there's I've got a rotation that I'm running them through, and one of the paddocks is kind of a work in progress, and I've kind of been expanding through this place where there's Tigger says hello. For whatever reason, Tigger is suddenly very vocal. Hi, Mr. Tigger. Don't really know what's up with that. But anyway, there's a place where there's a flat spot, and then it steps down 3 feet, and there's an old fence line there, and then at one end there's this cluster of everything, and it's just a gnarled mess. So I ran the fence kind of around the temporary fence around that this time, so that the boys could get in there and start to chew that down. Well, I go over to put the boys to bed, and it's count. It's obviously there's a ram there, full grown. So I don't head count him. I just count the 6 younger ones. But I only got 5. So, okay. There's a ram and 5 little ones. Where's number 6? It's all right, he probably, got outside the fence and is now frantically running back and forth because everybody else just came over here to get food, and now he's by himself. So I go walking, look, nothing. Look, nothing. Look, nothing. So I go walking around this gnarled mess of stuff, and I wish I could put the picture up on the screen, because I did get a picture of this before I pulled him out of it. But there was a spot where there was this old woven wire fence that's kind of laid over, and he had gotten himself into that with all 4 legs through a different hole and his head through a 5th hole, and was just sitting in this fence like a net. It's oh, you got yourself into it good there, buddy. So I went over and he was never going to get himself out of that, because I tried to push on the fence a little bit, and he was trying to squirm and wiggle a little, and so I kind of had to tuck my hand around his chest and kind of push the fence away from his head, and at the same time pull back on his chest to get his head far enough out to be able to get his head out of the fence. And then once I got that, I was able to just pick him straight up. And fortunately, he's still small enough to do that. So, but, get him out of that, set him down. And of course, he bolted right back to go find everybody else. So that was one of those deals where it was just not quite what I was expecting when I was missing a sheep. So anyway, my sister had a mean cat named Tigger 50 years ago. Yes, Tigger is sweet, but Tigger is also 50 years old. Tigger is about 6 months away from just getting dubbed in an SA drone because he won't die. So I think he's mostly deaf at this point, but yeah, he just refuses to go away. So that's Tigger. And he's gotten very vocal about everything that he does. So he will inform you when he's drinking water. He will inform you when the water is empty. He will inform you when he's going to the bathroom. He will inform you when he's eating food. So, anyway, oh, what else did I have on my list? Oh, yes, gutters. Gutters. Been talking about gutters for a long time. And like the gutter in front of her house was pieced together out of whatever we had laying around. So I think it was 3 sections, and all of the seams leaked from day one. And I tried to get them to stop leaking, and they just always leaked. And so you end up with a stream of water coming out of the gutter and across the front porch, and you can't set anything over there because it gets soaking wet. So Nicole finally got around to actually getting a quote, called like 5 different people, and one guy called back, so he kind of got the job by default. But apparently he lost his estimate for this job, and so we had to give him numbers again. And when he showed up to actually install everything, there was one gutter that was like 6 inches short. It's like, if I was piecing something together like I did before, I would probably call that good. But when I'm spending this much money, no, we're getting the whole gutter, to include the extra 6 inches of a seamless gutter. And so she also got them, because that's on the side of the carport, and there's a not pressure treated board there. So she also added on for that section to have basically a giant piece of flashing put up there as well. So at some point in time, they will be coming back to finish that one. But
what are you doing?
I'm doing what I want.
What are you doing? Did I say you could hijack my show?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Guess where I am?
Kansas.
Somewhere over the rainbow. Do you know where that show is from?
That reference has already been made.
Yeah, I am in Kansas anymore at Midwest Preparedness Project, and we just took a lunch break. About to go back in, and William Bond is going to give us a composting demo, which should be pretty darn cool. He processed a sheep yesterday. Joel Salet's in tonight, and this morning we had a presentation on food preservation, so that was pretty cool too.
Yeah, I heard all the cool kids are there.
Everybody who's cool is here except for you.
Yeah,
you're cool too. You're just there.
Yeah, I heard.
So how you surviving?
I heard everything's kind of divided up by camps. You've got yours.
There's basically a hauler compound now here.
Yeah. I'm hoping to make it next year.
Yeah? As long as your back will hold up?
Oh, that'll be the fun part. Getting there.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for a Stargate to get installed.
Stargates would be awesome. I wouldn't have had my mosquito goo experience if there had been a Stargate where I could just pour it here. Should I tell them about my mosquito goo experience?
Yes.
Yeah, so I decided to borrow this roof rack from Nighthawk, which comes with a completely waterproof canvas case that's not waterproof, by the way. I have now confirmed. And we were driving from Paducah up into Missouri, which takes you through Cairo, which is Illinois, which I finally just resigned myself to the fact I end up in Illinois whenever I come to Kansas, which is fine. But Cairo is in this like low area, and it was kind of raining, but then there were also like the scales of clouds of mosquitoes that horror shows are made through them driving through while the rain's coming down. And the canvas is killing the mosquitoes, and the water is not quite enough to rinse them off. It just makes them stick to the canvas. So when we got to the hotel, I needed something from up there, and it smelled faintly of rotten fish. I was like, why does this smell like rotten fish? And I get up there, I'm like, oh, I know why. And there's just like a cake of gooey dead mosquitoes, and I was unzipping it, getting them down both arms to get the thing I needed out of there, which was the plug-in cable for the cooler, because we were going to stay in a hotel that night. And I also took a shower right after that, not coincidentally. But yeah, we learned that I've used these kind of racks, and I've used canvas and never had this issue, but I've never driven through Cairo and been beset by mosquitoes in a rainstorm while driving. So let that be a lesson to you. The hard shell ones that are like a teardrop probably wouldn't have had that same exact issue.
Yeah, at least you would have been able to just like unclip it and just pop it up. Like unclip it from the side instead of having to reach across for the zipper.
Yeah, there was a whole, like, there's only one zipper on the whole thing instead of multiples. So you have to find where it originates from. So yeah. That was Mama Sauce in the background.
Surprised there's not more people in the background.
Well, you know, it's lunch break. Everybody's like around doing stuff, checking out the cool vendors.
Yeah. What's the head count there for that one?
It was 150 people were here yesterday. They're expecting 700 to 1,000 day trippers throughout the weekend because they're set up near a metropolitan area. So some of us are camping, and more campers will probably come in today because it's Friday. And then there'll be day trippers, I think, to see Joel, among other things, because he's a good draw for these things. But I think they had 500 last time, so it's pretty spread out though, so you don't feel like you're just inundated with people.
Yeah.
Like, I'm at my campsite, nobody's here except for Mama Sauce.
Yeah. That's actually kind of nice.
Yep. So I heard you're cooking for yourself this time while I'm out of town instead of the stuff I pre-cook.
Somewhat. I'm going back and forth.
Yeah, that's good.
Had the roast the first night, whatever day that was. What did you put in that one?
Giardiniera.
Yeah, you said that on Zello, and between coming across Zello and my hearing, what I heard was Giardia.
Yeah, no, Giardia is not something I would put in food.
I was like, I'm just going to assume that was a weird pronunciation that might have been screwed up, or I just didn't hear it right, or, yeah, whatever. I didn't question it when I ate it.
I had those two roasts, and I thought if I put this in the crock pot Wednesday morning, by the evening, when he's tired, there will be food. And so I put some carrots in there we had, and onions, and a whole lot of garlic, like 2 whole things of garlic are in there. And then some tomato sauce, a little bit of red wine. And then I looked in the fridge, and there was this jar of giardiniera there, which I assume Kiri left from the workshop. I put half of that in there with the vinegary sauce. Yeah. So hopefully you liked how that tasted.
Yeah, it was good. And that was one of those, I think I sat down to eat a little after 8 that night, which that was the first chance I even had to think about dinner. So it was like nice that was just sitting there ready to go. Last night I ate a little bit late just because after getting everything else said and done, I just sit down for a while before I actually get the motivation to actually start cooking.
Cool. Did you thank any sponsors today?
No, I have none of that written down.
Okay. I didn't give you any of that, but I would like to thank John Pugliano of the Wealth Study Podcast. So check his stuff out, the Wealth Studying Podcast. That's at investablewealth.com. He's been a longtime supporter of the show and puts out great information about once a week. Our second sponsor of today's show is Agorist Tax Advice. Matthew Sursley. Matthew Sursley helps you analyze your finances and then find ways to keep more of your money in your pocket. So check him out at agoristaxadvice.com/LFTN, and you can sign up for his newsletter, which I find really helpful. His last newsletter was all about taking the home office write-off and how to do that and how to track it. So I've found those emails really cool. So if you guys want to support those guys, I'd love it.
You.
See, I didn't write it down for you because I was like, I can just come on and say it.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah. What's next on the list?
Gardens.
Oh, yeah. So we're having a good garden year.
This is the first year you've actually gotten broccoli, right?
Well, I mean, I got some last year. I went up at the... Yeah, not like this. Like, I'm getting repeated harvests of broccoli, and it's little heads, but lots of shoots of it. And it's the variety of broccoli that I grew. So that's been going well. If Tactical didn't harvest it yesterday, though, it's gone to seed probably. So, and I'm pretty sure he didn't harvest it yesterday.
No.
Okay. And then we've had an amazing Swiss chard crop. And I just, in the new beds, I threw any random seeds I had out there to see what would germinate. So we've got actual carrots growing. And then I do have like successful beets right now. So I thinned the beets so that we get bigger beets before I left. And we've started interplanting later crops in there. So I've got some jalapeno peppers under the broccoli. When I get back, depending where the broccoli is, I'll probably cut it out to give light to the peppers. We need to put our green bean seeds in, which I didn't get done before I left, but I will certainly get done when I get back. And the garlic scapes are coming on. So hopefully Tactical tonight before he makes his saute, if that's what you're doing, we'll go out and grab some garlic scapes and cut those up and put them in. Just when it gets to the pointy part of the plant, that's not what you want to eat. That's tough and chewy and stringy. And then there's also a bunch of Swiss chard ready to go in the fridge. So I think really what's made the difference is adding the biochar this year and being more purposeful with the compost tea application.
Yeah, I need to get another round of that done.
Yeah, what's going on in your garden? You said something about Egyptian walking onions this morning.
Yeah, I took a break earlier to, like, I needed to, like, clear my head for a minute. So, what more logical thing to do to take a break and clear your head is go try to set a giant rock in place. So I walked down
there. Tell about it.
Yeah. This one was particularly heavy, and I needed it to move over like 6 inches, which proved to be rather challenging. But anyway, like I got that pushed over a little bit and then walked down to the pond to wash my hands, which were then caked in mud, and just happened to look down beside me, and it was like, okay, cool. A lot of the Egyptian walking onions that I've got have already started putting on shoots, but they're actually, the base of them are starting to turn that like reddish maroon color, which is usually about the time that, like, okay, that'll probably survive if I break it off and transplant it. So hopefully, possibly later today, I'm going to make a pass around and start breaking some of those off and relocating them to other places on the property.
One of our big picture hauler goals, guys, is to get Egyptian walking onions going all over the place so we don't have to ever worry about onions. And you end up using them mostly like green onions, although you can eat the bulb of the onion. But what's cool about them is they put on heads like flowers with additional bulblets, and then you can plant those bulblets. And that's why they're called Egyptian walking onions, because if you just let them go, they'll fall over and plant themselves, and then it's like they're walking different places in your garden. But we're going to help them walk by separating those bulblets apart and putting them different places in the hauler, so we have more of a perennial onion crop going on. Roar Tribe says, I need to find some. I looked at Baker's Creek but can't find any. So when you harvest some bulblets, put some aside and I will ship it to them with their coffee.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
about to say.
I can get you some of that. Yeah, you need hundreds of onions. I can get you like a start with the Egyptian walking onions and then just keep propagating them. But I'm with you. We go through at least 100 pounds of onions a year, and there's only 2 in the holler, plus I do events. So 100 to 150 pounds of onions get consumed. And we are not onion independent yet in the holler. We are garlic independent, but not onion independent. I have, I think, 2 more fresh garlics to use, and it's about time to harvest garlic again.
Yeah, that's another thing. I was just eyeballing some of the garlic seeds sitting on the counter right now. It's like I need to grab some of that to put in a couple of places that I already know I want to put it. But yeah, I'll definitely look to see what I get later today when I start breaking stuff off.
Well, it sounds like you got the show under control, so I'm going to leave you to it.
Yep.
Have fun, and I'll go meet a bunch more people, and we'll see what happens.
Yep.
I'm going to sell out the coffee here, Tactical. I should have brought more coffee bags.
I could ship some.
Won't get here in time.
Yeah.
There was also the issue where we're all doing pour overs right now. And so those of us who have ground holler roast are running out of ground holler roast. But luckily, we found somebody with a grinder. So I was able to grind another pound of the stuff I had for sale so that we could continue to have caffeine. Because I brought enough coffee for Mom and me and a little bit extra, but not enough to like keep certain Rohrmans going, if you know who I mean.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I come next year, the International Space Station is coming too. I don't know how that's going to work yet. But...
Well, we could pull the camper and it has a battery.
Maybe, maybe not.
Yep.
But we'll see.
We will see. Okay, well, I'll leave you to it. Bye, guys. Make it a great weekend.
All right. Now that I'm completely off track, gotta catch up with what we. Yeah, so I don't have too much left on my list. The other thing she didn't mention with the garden stuff is the tomato wall, which that is up and running now. I have no idea where her TDS meter is, and I went to go grab mine this morning, and mine was not where it was supposed to be. So I looked on the other shelves where I would have set it, and it wasn't there. And I happened to be on the porch doing something else and looked down, and halfway up underneath something else was the end of my TDS meter sticking out, and was like, oh, that explains why I couldn't find it. So I grabbed that, and the nutrient was extremely low. So I dumped some in earlier today, and I will probably go back this afternoon and check it again just to see what it's doing. But it'll probably take me till sometime tomorrow to actually get it dialed in where it should be. But then there's also the issue. One thing I don't like about this system is the way I built it. I used 1/4-inch drip tubing to go to each individual container. And that was apparently a horrible idea because thing constantly gets, well, not constantly, but on a fairly regular basis, one of them stops working because it gets clogged up. And so I've got a can of compressed air with the hose on the end of the can. And then I took a barbed fitting for the drip tube irrigation and some electrical tape and taped that fitting to the hose for the compressed air. And so I can just shove that into the end of the hose that's clogged and blow some air through it and just put some back pressure to clear it out. So I think I've got most of those working, but then there was also the issue when we fired the system back up this time. It wasn't on a timer, which this system has to be on a timer because if you just let it go, the feed overwhelms the drain because it's not big enough. But the system was put together out of like 3 or 4 different systems. So most of the bulkheads that were in there were all 1/2 inch, should be at least 3/4. But that's not a big deal. Easiest solution for that was just put it on a timer so the pump runs 15 minutes on, 15 minutes off. And then, of course, it got plugged just straight into an outlet, so it overflowed. There was that. And then once we did get it put onto a timer, it kept like backing up and the water level was way too high. And there's a vent line, or not a vent line, but there's 2 90s on top of part of it where it's basically just an air brake so that you don't end up with a siphon, and the water started coming out that, which it's not supposed to. And fortunately that sits over the top of the sump, so it was just basically recirculating back into the sump anyway. But it's like, all right, I finally cut the rest of the drain line open and was immediately obvious, oh, there's one of the little clay pebbles lodged in the drain line. So it's like, yeah, that was never going to get punched out when I shoved a zip tie through there. But anyway, I got that part fixed. So it should be fully up and running now. She's got a bunch of tomatoes already in there and a couple of more that need to go in. So that system is mostly up and running at this point. And then I think that was, that was everything we had off of growing stuff. I don't think there was anything else. I mean, I'm going to be expanding some stuff as we go, just because, like, I'm still working on the area down by the pond. Like I said earlier, I got a rock moved in place, so I've almost got another section opened up to where I can put a bunch more herbs in. And all the stuff that's down there right now is exploding. There's tons of comfrey. Like, I'm going to wind up probably yanking a bunch of oregano out of the ground and just like composting it, because we have so much oregano down there. Like, I don't even think we're going to wind up processing all of that. Don't give Naomi too much. Yeah, I'll let you worry about that one. I'm assuming that's a reference to too much coffee. But yeah, the only other 2 things I've got on my list for today, we did end up with a suicide mouse in the mini split. So she was complaining that for whatever reason, she couldn't get the mini split to power up, like, at all. And so I checked a couple of things on it the other day, and it was like, okay, power's going in at least. So it's not a problem on like the breaker box side. It's a problem internal with one of the 2 components. And then one of our friends, David, came out yesterday, I think it was, and like actually started opening stuff up and found a dead mouse on the circuit board, and the circuit board was smoked. So apparently that little guy managed to commit suicide and also kill the mini split at the same time. So it's questionable as to whether or not a replacement part can be found at all. And by the time you actually find something and pay the cost of that, it's probably just worth going on and buying a new unit, especially seeing as how she's already had a bunch of problems with that one already. So she's probably going to be looking to upgrade that, and probably really soon, because it is starting to warm up. We're still bouncing back and forth between long sleeve shirt weather and not, but yeah. So we got that. And then the last thing I had for on my list for today, unless somebody has questions, if you do have questions, get them in. Rodents have a way of finding their travels across contact and circuit boards. Yes, Pack Rat, they do. I've had numerous problems over the years with rodents eating things that I would rather them not eat. And it's like, if you're going to eat something, can you try eating the high voltage line? Because you're less likely to damage it before you get smoke checked. Like, yeah. Anyway, but the last thing I've got on my list for today is my routine. So, like, I already kind of had a routine that I go through with some stuff, morning, evening, afternoon, all that kind of thing. And talking to a friend of mine, it was like, okay, I'm going to try tying my routine to a timeline to where it's not just like, roughly at 9 o'clock, like actually breaking my routine down a lot more regimented, because it helps me with a lot of my personal issues, memory problems and all that. So it's like, I'm going to try to structure this a little bit better. And then over the course of doing that, it's like I started adding a lot of other stuff onto my routine, because it's like one big thing that I always forget to do is bring my laundry up. And so it's like, I've got to actually go down to the cabin, grab my laundry, and bring it back up to Nicole's for me to get my laundry done. And so it's like, I need to do laundry. 3 days later, I finally remember to bring my laundry up. And it's like, as I'm looking at my routine, it's like, okay, at about 9:15, I'm going to walk from the cabin to Nicole's house. So why have I not just put on my list of things to do to bring my laundry up at 9:15? And if I don't need to bring laundry up that day, then I'll just skip that part. So I started kind of tweaking my routine a lot with that kind of thing. And I'm still trying to dial everything in, but like, that's helping me a lot. It's helping get a lot more stuff done here, because I've got stuff that's actually on the list. And it also I still think this is something that other people can use, because it's structuring things to where everything is a little bit more efficient. And it also is getting animals into a routine as well. Like, one of the things that I've changed is, instead of putting the girls to bed at sunset, I'm going to put them to bed at 5 o'clock every day. So, it kind of gets them into a routine as well. And same thing with the dogs. Like, my dog, it varied wildly what time she would get fed at night, just depending on what kind of a mood I was in. So, and yes, chaining all the tasks together is, essentially what I'm doing. So I've gotten I started with a couple of things at like 9 o'clock that ended with letting the ducks out. And it's like, now I might have to change that time, because I've got so much blocked off in that half hour that it's like, I need another 5 or 10 minutes to be able to actually get it all done. So that's something that I'm using, and it's something that other people might think about. Not just in homesteading and stuff, but think about that and just whatever else you're doing through the day, family time, whatever. So anyway, I think that's everything that I have for today. On top of that, the coffee is okay. It's actually empty now. There was a drop left. But anyway, I guess since there's no other questions, wait, what? All domestic animals seem to do better with routine. Yes. And you as well. Yeah, absolutely. So that's been I'm really working hard on tweaking that for mostly for me, but it's also helping with everything else. But all right, well, if nobody else has any questions, till next time, guys. Bye.